And you guys will have to hit the got it on the little button that popped up. And it's interesting, Bob, it didn't ask me for two-factor. Video unavailable. Well, what's the deal? Try that again. Go to home. Go to my other account. Okay, let's try that again. Oh, it says I'm live streaming. Let me go check it. Yep, we are live. Just play a little and make sure. It's weird because it usually comes up and shows me it.
On my screen, it shows it's live.
Yeah, I'm going to the actual link and I'm just
Yeah.
making sure there that it's live because usually it fires me right to that. But yeah, it's weird because it usually comes up. Yep, it's good. It's happening. All right. Any other questions before we dig in? Welcome, everybody. And let's see here. So Al, unfortunately, is not going to make it tonight. So we won't have the Linkmeister like usual, but he did provide some, we're going to go over some of the, he was really good about, he's getting ready to leave on a trip. And so he gave me a whole bunch of links we can go over. And then of course, I'll get that to Bob and then Bob will put it out like they normally do, or Al may put it out himself for that. But as tonight I want, it was funny because I got looking at the calendar and I'm going, my gosh, within a month, we may have new iPhones. So we're gonna talk about that a bit and go into detail as far as what you want to do, prepare for, and things like that. There's still lots of rumors going around, but I will. I don't know that we really need to bring up the agenda because first thing we always do is ask if there's any volunteer or member announcements. So if anybody. Oh, Al's here. Yee-hoo. Al, I'm going to make you a co-host. Great. And are you good to give your rumors and all that stuff? Are you good for that?
Yeah, I have a few items. You know, as you know, it's a rumor mill time. You know, we're coming up here in a few weeks for the September 12th or 13th, depending on what rumors you
or October 13th or 20th.
Really? I haven't heard that one. I knew that some of the watch, maybe some of the Pro watches were going to be delayed into as far as receiving them into October, but I didn't know the event itself might be put off.
No, not the event put off. So let's clarify, since we're kind of talking like in geeky dates there. So the you had the September dates, Al. What were they?
Yeah, they were the 12th, and there was some scuttlebutt about the 13th. You know,
right, because
they like the second week, usually in September on a Tuesday. You know, it's Apple's favorite thing to do.
So that would be the Apple Fall event, which would include the iPhone 15 in many flavors, and you know they also announced the iOS 17, which will be available real quick after that.
Yeah.
And then
I think they're up to like the sixth or seventh beta, and they're getting close, I think, to being a designated golden master.
right.
Hey, Bob.
And that
Right.
usually goes out right away. The phone is usually available if they announce it on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, available for order the following Friday, and then available the week after that. So, but the little wrench in the works that I read today is there's talk of, instead of doing the iPhone Pro Max, 15 Pro Max, they may do one called an Ultra. And it might be titanium, and there's all kinds of weird rumors.
Yeah.
And
There's even a rumor about it getting like this kind of black color, this darker color hue.
yeah. But the other thing that came up is, as happened about 5 years ago, that phone may not be available until October. And then, of course, I immediately went to my calendar and saw when my Antarctica trip is, and the rumors were that it would be available on the 13th or the 20th of October, because that's always on a Friday. And it would happen right before I left. So I'm happy about that. Now, regarding phone rumors, well, Bob, is this your question about the phone and the event? Mr. Ress? You're muted. You're muted, Bob.
I've got a business announcement about the elections.
Okay, let's wrap up the phone rumor and go right to that. So, and then we'll get back into rumors and stuff after. We just kind of wanted to get these dates out. So the Ultra, and then Al, have you heard any more about the periscope camera?
Only that, it's, lots of scuttlebutt about it. But I have heard that it's, we can expect to probably pay $100 to $200 more for that.
For the Ultra, and it
For the
might
Ultra.
have a periscope.
Yeah.
So let me explain the periscope camera to you guys, because it's intriguing. And I think most people, when they hear about the periscope camera, they think that there's going to be a little thing on the top of the phone that pops up, and you think you're doing Hunt for the Red October and looking for, submarines. But no, what a periscope camera is. So the current cameras, in the Pro models, you have a 3x zoom. So it's a 3 times zoom, which I believe is an equivalent of about a 70 millimeter lens, if I'm not mistaken, if you were to equate it to the old 35 millimeter standard. There are phones out there right now that offer 10x, and I mean optical zoom, not using digital zoom. And a 10x would be equivalent of about 140 to a 200 millimeter lens. And when you do an optical zoom like that, it's done with lens elements. I believe our 3X right now has 7 or 9 lens elements in it. And it sticks out on the back of the phone a little bit, but not a lot. So to put more lens elements in that, to get more magnification, you need more room. So the idea is you would take the lens like it is, and you would have a few elements, and then it would go down to a prism. And a prism is essentially a mirror, and it redirects that light along the phone, either along the width or the length of the phone. And in that long tunnel, which is a way to look at it, more lens elements could be put in there. And then at the end of that tunnel, there's another prism that then goes to the sensor. And the sensor is that's the image that we see. So again, you always have a lens, you have the lens with lens elements, and then you have a sensor. And with the phone can only be so thick. So the idea is it bends the light, and a prism will not detract from anything, because it's simply a reflective surface. and then it goes to another prism and then goes to the sensor. So that's how they can accomplish a 10x, and in the future, who knows how much beyond that. And I'm a firm believer that that's really the only thing that holds me back on just using an iPhone everywhere, is lack of a longer lens. For instance, like when I was in Africa, yeah, I mean, I had to use a really long lens. That's a whole different scenario. But there were rumors of it, the periscope, and then it got quiet. And sometimes if it's really quiet, oh, hang on one sec. I got a message. Oh, Siri on my watch keeps doing that. We have Dave McVeigh could not join the meeting. He's getting the same error code.
Go to the website, click on that link for the
Yeah,
general
can
meeting.
somebody
Get you-
contact David McVeigh and let him know that? Anyway, so the fact that the rumors kind of stopped may mean that Apple did a cease and desist, so it may come out. We don't know, but there's some reason that they're talking about the Ultra may be delayed. So we'll see. We'll know more then. It's exciting. There's a lot of neat things in iOS 17 that we'll know about. They'll do more information about macOS Sonoma, which is the replacement to Ventura, and then the thought is there may be another high-end Apple Watch coming to replace the Ultra, but the talk is it might not be till after the first of the year. So right now we don't know anything, but I want to go through later on here when I do the presentation. I want to talk to you about how to prepare and what you want to do with your carrier and get ready if you're going to upgrade your phone, because this is the time of year and that's really important. So Al, anything else on the phone or anybody else before I go to Mr. Ress with his volunteer announcements?
Ken?
Yeah, Bob.
And McVeigh has read the email. He's getting that same message about he has to update. So it's not the link that's the problem.
Yeah, and so but I guess that's a different error code. Was his the Square? Did he have a problem on Square too, or is this the error code he was getting to get into the meeting before?
I have no idea about Square.
Well, remember we were talking to somebody, I thought that was Square that he was trying to make a membership payment. Okay.
Somebody did a month or two back, but was that him?
I don't know.
I don't remember.
We'll try that offline, but yeah, I'd tell him to restart his computer. Anybody else on the phone before? And we're going to go into. I'm going to try to go into more detail and go into the rumors and stuff. But I wanted to highlight that because that's important. So, Mr. Rest, go right ahead, please.
Okay. It is election season again for MacNexus. We have 4 offices that are open to accept self-nominations for. That's president, secretary, and 2 directors at large. Bob White is once again election commissioner. So if you have any questions about the process, give Bob an email. So far, I have received 1 self-nomination form for the election. That's about the end of it, unless anybody has any questions.
Anybody? Okay. Any other volunteer or member announcements? Thank you, Bob Rest.
I think I have a couple of routers if anybody wants them, and or Comcast pods, extender pods.
Oh, okay.
I just got an Eero system and I'm in the process of setting it up. So
Woo!
Yeah,
So you haven't set the new one up yet?
I've set it up, but it turns out, and this is somebody last time asked about it. I needed to get one of those little splitters, if you will, because I have a security system that had logged into my router. And so I needed more ports in the back of the Eros.
So you needed to get a switch.
Which,
Yes, thank you. That's
Yeah.
what. But
But now is your Wi-Fi up and working and okay?
yeah, it is, but I just have
Good.
to do the security portion of it. And
Yeah.
well, actually, that does lead a question, because there is, from the power box that comes with the Mac, there is one that there is a cord that currently goes to the router. So I'm assuming I should make it to the new.
Yeah, so
switch box
you have a
too.
24-inch iMac.
Mhm.
And this is a very unique thing. And if you get the least expensive iMac that starts at $12.99, you don't get the Ethernet. But if you spend the $200 more or $150 more in the education store and get the $14.99 base model, you get the fingerprint ID on the keyboard, which the Touch ID is well worth it. I encourage everybody to
very
do it.
nice.
But
Yes.
also the power cord. So there's a little magnetic plug that goes into the back of the iMac that has a color coded cable that's the same color as the iMac. And it goes down to a little, it's just a little, I used to call them wall warts, but it's a transformer. And then that has another cord that goes to the outlet to plug in. Well, also in that one, if you order that iMac, there's an Ethernet called an RJ45, an Ethernet plug. And yes, Mary, always go Ethernet if you can, if your router's right there. And so the Eero has 2 jacks on it. You need one for the incoming from your internet. And then
Right.
that other jack will be what you hook the switch in. And then the switch doesn't really, as long as you get a gigabit switch,
I did.
it won't you don't take any speed hits. So then you simply go from the switch to that. And the beauty of a switch is it's just a device that just hands out IP addresses, and it doesn't hand them out. The router hands them out, but it just routes them. It's like using a regular power strip for more power. So that's
You know,
good.
something else you may consider on down the road, Mary, is getting a little uninterruptible power supply for
I've
your
got one.
router. Good.
Got
Never,
one.
Good.
if your juice goes down, at least your internet's still up, for a short while.
Yeah, I have
Which-
one of those. In fact, I saw it for anybody who doesn't, and they've got like a desktop like I do. I saw them at Costco, the UPSs for not that, I think under $100. And
Sure. And so you would hook the computer to it, and then your cords that are going to the router. But there's no sense to hook a printer up, and you want to only have the essential things hooked up to it, so that if the power goes off, it's going to last longer by the fewer things that are attached to it.
yeah, and
You would never want to put a laser printer on a backup power supply.
Oh, okay. No, the printer is not, but I do have the computer itself, and I think maybe the security system. I can't remember.
Yeah, and then you want the modem and the router.
Right, the modem
And in
and the
your case-
router.
And in your case, the switch also.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Good to know. By the way, I have I just thought of this. The modem I bought is a modem router because it will work with the phone as well. And they said to put it in bridge motion, in bridge fashion. Do I have to, is that already done? Or is that something I should do?
Probably not. And so
Okay.
let's explain that for everybody, because we're going to have time tonight. So
Oh, okay.
basically the way I like to describe routers is pretend like you're the pilot landing a plane at Sacramento International Airport, and the guy with the bright orange flashlights is directing you to the gate, and he's got the flashlights going like this. And a router, that's what he's doing. He's routing the plane to the gate. But if a pilot comes up and there's two guys with orange flashlights, and one guy's going like this and the other guy's going like this, it's really confusing. And the pilot doesn't know what to do. Which way do I go? So if you have two routers, they can get confused and it can mess things up. So you have an Eero router. And now, and are you on Comcast, Xfinity, or what is your internet?
Xfinity. Mm-hmm.
So they provide you, or excuse me, they rent you a router modem, or you buy your own.
Mm-hmm.
Usually not for the phone one, but the idea is that it's a router, and now you have an Eero. So you have two routers, and they're competing for your attention. So you need to put one of them in non-router mode, which is called bridge mode. And it could be the Eero, believe it or not. And your Comcast modem could get it out. But if you can get in, the best way is to make the Eero the router.
Right.
And then if you can get into Comcast and put it in bridge mode. But sometimes you can't get into them and do that, and they don't allow that. The only other reason you'd want the Comcast one to be in bridge mode is if they want to do any remote troubleshooting, they can still get into it, but they can't troubleshoot the router if you're in bridge mode. So, and either one works. So in other words, all that is, it has nothing to do with your bandwidth or your switch or anything else. It's just whoever it is, which guy you're picking to take the plane to the right dock. Does that make sense?
It helped me a lot, but I will just say I've been reading a lot about the Eeros the last week or so and gotten some feedback from some of you folks. And the one other thing is I want to add a guest network, and it looks like that's going to be easy to do as well. So
yes, it is. And since you have the Xfinity router, just make sure you never hook anything up to the Xfinity Wi-Fi, because it's there for guests to come over to use, and it's also for people that have the Xfinity phones and things. The problem with the Xfinity network is if you have a printer, and so the big thing is your printer has to be on the same network as your computer. So you probably have it named home or something like that. But the actual one that says Xfinity can create problems. And if your phone logs into it or your computer does, it sometimes may hop over to that and you won't see your printers. And it's not going to be as fast. So you have to go in and say, forget this network, and then never join that network.
if I understand you correctly, Ken, I have created a new network on the Eero that has the same name and password as my old Xfinity network.
Good. That's a huge tip, everybody.
Yeah.
Because that prevents you from having, like I have 36 devices hooked to mine. I would have had to go into each one and redo them. It doesn't always work because of security issues, but in fact, you name it exactly the same name, capital letters matter, and you use the same password. And Mary, other than the fact you may have had to reboot the devices, they probably just connected automatically, right?
They did, but one thing that I did find interesting is on the iPhones in the house, it didn't say, I mean, when I was trying to match them up so that wait a minute, let me back up for people who don't know. It says, after I got it connected, then it says, oh, we've noticed a device. And here, if you want to name it, give it a nickname so you know what it is and hook it to the network. And on the first one on my iMac, it identified it as an iMac and as an Apple product, but it did not on the phones. So I had to go to the IP addresses on them and make sure that to match them up with what it said on the.
Sure. And that's not really your router naming thing. That's just a new setup thing. And that's just an added security feature with Apple.
Oh, okay. That's with Apple, not Eero?
I believe so. But anyway,
Okay, that's fine.
yeah.
Thank you anyway. I appreciate all of
But
that.
that's good and glad it worked. And then your bridge thing, it can be either one. And at this point, since you have the Eero named the other way, if you can get in, if you look on your Xfinity box, it'll
Okay.
say administrative ID. It's probably admin, and then it'll say password, and that's to actually get in the router. And and then you can change it to bridge mode.
Okay.
And actually, you might even they might be able to do it remotely for you.
Yeah, I'll look at that a little. Thank you, Ken. Oh,
And to be honest, routers have gotten pretty good these days. You may not have an issue if they're both routers. But
okay.
the way you would detect that is if you're on the iMac and it's working great, and then you try to get on your phone and you can't get on.
Oh, okay. And
It's,
I think it was Donna who Iverson or what was asking, but and then this is the little
that's
little
the
switch.
That's great.
And it was $30 at Best Buy. They had some for a lot more, but just so if anybody knows, cares on that. So
Are you getting the coverage that you hoped you would get around your house?
I think so. Although it did say the third one that I put up, it said it was a little dicey. You know, those metal, the stucco walls with the metal in them tend to keep the Wi-Fi down.
So she got a mesh system, which means there's essentially three. In the old days, you'd have a router and repeaters.
Yeah.
And a router with repeaters is okay, but the problem is the repeaters would always dumb everything down to half speed. With a mesh system using Wi-Fi 6, Wi-Fi 6E, or Wi-Fi 6 Plus, what happens is there's a transmit band and a receive band, so they go up full width. But a little tip, Mary, now, if that one is not such good signal, bring it closer to the nearer one.
Yeah, unfortunately, because of the house configuration, that just can't happen. So
because there's no outlet, because it doesn't have to be line of sight or anything, and you want to split those distances.
It's on the second. No, it's just the structure in the it's on the second floor.
And is your house lath and plaster?
Yes.
See, lath and plaster is an issue because there's chicken wire behind the lath and plaster, and that's like a Faraday cage.
That's this house.
But upstairs, downstairs is also sometimes an issue. So
yeah, anyway, thank you all.
You bet. So that's router 101 that we did, but that's, I mean, a lot of people are changing and doing it. And then again, so yours are old Apple airports, right, that you have available?
No, I got rid of those a long time ago, and I got the Comcast. They just call them pods. Xfinity.
Oh, the repeaters.
Yes, the repeaters, and I have 3 of them. Well, I have 2 or 3 of them. Somebody may want one, but somebody was asking about it a time or 2 ago. But just let me know, and we'll figure something out.
And you bought those, or were they?
I bought them 3 for $100.
Okay,
like
good.
4 years ago.
I just wanted to be sure you didn't give them away, and then they're going to show up and they say, "Well, where are those ones? You didn't return them."
No.
So good. All right, fantastic. Any other member announcements? So if anybody needs, if you have an Xfinity, was yours the Xfinity router? That's the one that's a tall tower, the black one, or was it the one that's just kind of a rectangular box?
It was the tall tower, but I've got 2. Wait a minute, right here. 2 of these. Oh, I can't. 2 of those.
If you hold it in front, yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, 2 other routers that are just routers and that are available if anybody wants them.
Great. Well, cool. Anybody else have any? Because I don't see any other member announcements or anything. So I guess we could go into tech Q&A. And I'm going to start it off with an old Q&A question. I'm going to share my screen.
Excuse me.
And so in January, there was a Purple Mac question about AirPod Max and using them, plugging them into airline AV systems.
Ooh.
And that, when we answered that, and there's a cable from Apple that used to be 79 or 59, but it's come down in price. But there's a second thing that I use, and I was just on a long trip, and actually I got to, it was really nice because I got to see the whole 1883 series on the plane, and I wanted to use either my AirPods Pro or my AirPods Max. And so I have a little device I've had for a while called an AirFly Pro. And this is the picture of it. And the Apple Store actually has them, and you can get them from, it's 12 South. But what the AirFly Pro does is it plugs in to the little headphone jack in the plane or in your car or an old Walkman if you had it. Or I actually use this because in May I went to the Indianapolis 500, and they have a little radio. There's a local radio station that broadcasts it live. And this was this little $5 radio I had hanging around my neck. And rather than use really stupid little earphones, I used my AirFly Pro, and then I could have my noise canceling headset on, and it was great. So it just fits into any micro or mini jack. Now, the AirFly Pro comes in 3 flavors. The SE Special Edition, which only works for 1 pair of headphones. And what that means is at a time. The AirFly Duo is 2 headphones. So previous to that, I had paired my, and again, remember, I'm using this wirelessly, like here in this little picture with the, in fact, let me get this, get this bigger. You can tell it's been a while since I did this. There we go. All right, so it's Bluetooth. It's essentially takes a headphone jack and turns it into Bluetooth, and it transmits it then to AirPods Pro, or in this case, to regular headphones, whatever you want. And the one that does 2, you could have 2 different ones going at the same time. Or for me, I just have it paired to both. So whichever one I put on my head, it does it. But also, I was walking around. I did this big trip to South Africa and a river cruise where they have tour guides that use those. They're called Quiet Vox or whisper devices, where they have a little microphone on them, and then you have a little receiver, and you can use those uncomfortable headphones, and you're able to listen to what the tour guide is saying. It works perfectly for that, and I used it on all those little excursions. And I just used, in fact, I just used one of my AirPod Pros. I didn't have to use both because you want to hear other stuff that's going on, but it's much more comfortable. So the Duo, and then the Pro. And what I want to point out is on the Pro, so normally what this does is it's a transmitter. All 3 of these are transmitters that transmits by Bluetooth what comes in that headphone jack. Well, the Pro can do it the other way. You could make it be where you plug it into something and it transmits it to a Bluetooth speaker. So it's a transmitter and a receiver. But for $10 extra, it's nice to have it so it can go both ways and do 2 pair. And I think the Apple Store carries the AirFly Pro model, but this is just, and it's by a company called 12 South, and it's great. In fact, the one of the guys on the ship got it for himself because he'd been looking for it once he saw mine, and somebody else did, and it's they really like them, and I've been using them for probably 2-3 years. I will point out, when you do it on the airplane, like in the picture right here, you'll see they have this newer style airplane where you plug it in. Some airplanes still have the one where it's a right and left, it's 2 plugs or it's 2 mini jacks. And all you get is one of those little adapters, because otherwise you're only going to hear right or left. And I just keep that with me. So again, that's a great thing. Once it's set up, it works really well. And the battery life is great on it. And it simply charges. I recharged it every night, and it's just a USB-C, and it comes with a USB-C charging cable, and you just plug it in and it works great. So any questions on the AirFly Pro?
Does
Or
it
the
work with
AirFly?
regular over the head earphones? that
As
are
long
wireless?
as long as they're Bluetooth.
Okay, because some of
Yeah.
us have the problem where those things won't fit in our ears. So-
Yeah, well, and so I have, and you can see the kids doing it here, as long as it's Bluetooth. I have the Apple AirPods Pro, AirPods Max, which are the big cans, and it works great on that. In fact, like I said, that's what I used at Indy because the noise was so bad. But yeah, works with any Bluetooth. Let's see. Rich, go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, okay. So what's an example of how you would use the Pro?
Well, so the Duo allows you to pair 2 different headphones to it, and 2 people could listen to the same one. Let's say you're on a plane and you both want to watch the same movie. Okay.
Okay.
The Pro, the addition to it is you would take it and you would transmit, for instance, like they show in the picture. You're taking your phone and it Bluetooth connected, like let's say you had a boat, or let's say your home stereo has an input jack. You want to play a Bluetooth device through your home stereo. And it's really rare that you would ever do it in transmit mode, but it would be just you essentially, the iPhone would wirelessly by Bluetooth send it to the AirFly, and the
Okay.
AirFly is plugged in as an input on
Yeah.
the other device. That's the only
Okay.
difference between the Pro and the Duo, and the fact that the Pro comes in black also. And it looks like it's a little longer battery life, but between the two, I just, and the Pro is really what you find out there. It's probably harder to find unless you went right to 12 South to get the Duo or the SE.
Okay, thanks. I got it.
You bet. Randy, go ahead.
Yeah, just a note, if you're getting one, they're great. Elaine has the white color. I have the black color.
Oh yeah, that's a
And the
good
black
idea.
is very difficult to read the printing on the AirFly Pro. So if you're only getting one, I'd recommend the white, even though I got the black for me, but the printing is hard to read. Oh, and the other, I just flew to Alaska on Alaska Airlines, and they have a whole different setup other than what is on the screen now where it plugs in. Alaska uses free online internet or Wi-Fi on board, and you use your own device for both your screen and your own headphone or listening devices for that. So I was so excited first time. Oh, I can use my AirFly Pro. They don't have anything to plug it into.
Well, but wait a minute. So your screen was so you were using your iPhone or your iPad to view their content, right?
Exactly. Yes. On just Air Alaska or whatever, Alaska Airlines
Alaska, yeah.
Wi-Fi, and it's on board, and you just
Yeah,
watch.
well, they're doing that so that they can eliminate, because these screens are old and dated, and they're trying to do that. So you didn't need it because your device can do it right to your headsets anyway.
Right. So
yeah.
So hopefully Delta has the newer things. I have another trip coming up end of year, so hopefully.
Well, and like I said, I really, really, really liked it when I'm doing like these 1.5 to 2 hour tours, to be able to use just one AirPod Pro and not the stupid little the little headgear thing. So anyway,
And one,
that's I just wanted to, because I used it a lot, and I brought it up. I always bring it up in my travel presentation, but they're fantastic. And go ahead.
one last comment. It does work beautifully on your lower picture illustration under AirFly Pro at the bottom, auxiliary in. We have used that in Elaine's Subaru, and it works from the iPhone transmitting into the Subaru speakers.
That's here in the lower right corner.
Yeah.
And what that means is that's an auxiliary input jack, which is not super common in cars. So don't automatically assume your car has that. But that's great. That's really good. And then all you have to do is, and in fact, when I'm on, like I had a 10-hour flight. So when I'm in there, I have enough cords. And what I do is I have my big headphones always plugged into power, and I had my AirFly always plugged into power. So I was always fully charged. So if I needed to change, and it's good. But and in fact, it's funny because I didn't see the battery life here. And I want to show you a little tip that I use when I travel. I take and I put, let's see, AirFly. I downloaded online the PDF of the owner's guide, and it's in my notes because, and now I don't need it, but the first couple times I used it, I wanted to make sure I had my, so I just downloaded the PDF from the AirFly site, and I put it right in my notes, and it's always right there. So notes is just become a powerhouse. So, all right, any other questions on that device? I don't really have any other devices, except we're gonna talk, let me go, let's see here. Oh, I can't stress enough. Please, please, please have a time machine backup. Even if you're using other online backups and things like that, I have to hit this every couple months to say, because also if you get a new computer, it works really, really well. So it's all you need is an external drive, and you let Apple software do the work for you. So, all right, Al, are you back? Oh, I see you might be away from your computer right now because he can do his rumor rundown.
Yeah, give me a second here.
And I have the sheet you sent me, or do you want to share yours?
Stand by a second here. Let me switch to this.
Oh, let me unshare mine.
Oops.
There we go.
Okay. All righty. Oh, wait. Did you want to do you want me to do
Rumors and all your stuff, and I have
I
have the copy you sent me. If you want me to
Okay.
pull it up, or you want to pull it up, it's up to you.
I have a little keynote thing I can run through here, some of the stuff
Great.
that with a couple of graphics from the sites and stuff. Let's see, get my act together here.
He has multiple monitors. It's always a challenge.
Okay, here. Share my screen. Yep, having some issues here. Okay, here. There we go. And desktop 2, that's the big one up there. Let's see, yeah, that's the one I want to share. Can you see that?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay, here. Just this camera, just this go share. All right. All right, gang. once more here, little spin around the internet. Little segment here with our typical Apple tech news and rumors. First up here, today in Apple history, and 2020 in August 23 of 2011, United Airlines handed out 11,000 iPads to its pilots. It's the largest rollout of Apple tablets as a replacement for the weighty flight bags previously carried by the air crews. Going paperless saves around 16 million sheets of paper each year, the equivalent of 1,900 trees not cut down. But even better, the weight difference between a 1.5 pound iPad and a 40-pound flight bag saves 326,000 gallons of jet fuel per year. Pretty impressive.
And the other big thing with that is those have the charts and everything on them. Well, they can be updated instantly, whereas it was the old way was they would send out new charts, like if an airport changed and had to add additional runway or things like that. So pilots love it.
Yeah. Next up here, we sadly we marked the passing of Adobe Systems co-founder Dr. John Warnock on August 12th. He was 82 years old. He was widely acknowledged as one of the greatest inventors in our generation, with significant impact on how we communicate in words, images, and videos.
And I think he invented the PDF, didn't he?
Yes, exactly. He co-founded Adobe Systems in 1982 and created PostScript. That's a program that helped make small-scale printing feasible for the first time. The company later created the PDF, like Ken said, which let people create electronic versions of documents that could be preserved and sent to other users who could search and review them. With that, Adobe took off, and the PDF eventually replaced many paper copies in legal, business, and personal communications. Here in this picture here, President Barack Obama presented the 2008 National Medal of Technology and Innovation to him and his co-founder there. Sad to see him passing. Next up here from Apple Insider, on August 3rd, Apple has managed to surpass Wall Street's expectations despite facing lower than anticipated iPhone sales, thanks to a significant surge in its services division. The company's Q3 financial results revealed that the iPhone sales fell short of projections, with several factors, including the supply chain issues and reduced demand, being cited. However, the shortfall was mitigated by the strong performance of Apple's services segment, which includes Apple's Music, iCloud, and the App Store. Woohoo, they're still making money.
Apple stock has been doing fantastic.
Yeah. This month also marks the 25th birthday of the iMac. Jason Snell, who was here last month, wrote, or month before, I think it was last month, wrote a great article in the Verge chronicling its history and the significance in Apple folklore. The article reflects on the significance of the iMac in revitalizing Apple's fortunes. It discusses the colorful and user-friendly design of the iMac, how it helped rescue Apple from its financial struggles, becoming a symbol of the company's resurgence. The article highlights how the iMac embraced innovation by eliminating legacy technologies like the floppy disk drive and embracing USB connectivity, setting a precedent for Apple's future design principles. It also emphasizes the iMac's role in shaping customer expectations for intuitive computer experiences and influencing the trajectory of Apple's product development, marking a pivotal moment in the company's history. The Verge also has an article on the visual history of the iMac, and I thought I might take a quick stroll through some of the iterations here through the years. It all started back in '97 when Steve Jobs came back to Apple. Him and their design lead, Johnny Ives, kindred spirits, gave us the first unique-looking, colorful iMacs, originally with the Bondi blue color and a tray-loading optical drive. The following year, they wound up releasing an assortment of colors. The next iMac design was a pretty dramatic evolution. Apple called it the flat panel, which points to the fact that the bulky CRT display was gone in place of a sleek new LCD. The new iMac would later be known as iMac G4 because it used a PowerPC G4 processor. Lampshade. By 2004, the iMac G5 table lamp was gone and the white picture frame design had taken its place. This model set the course for iMac's design direction for basically every future model. The 2004 G5 models had optional airport cards for Wi-Fi, but it became standard in later models. By 2006, we said goodbye to the PowerPC. These iMacs were now using Intel processors, starting with the Core Duo and later with the Core 2 Duo. Design-wise, these models were very similar to the last iMac G5 with EyeSight models. Those are the cameras, but included a new mini DVI port for high-resolution external monitor support and introduced 802.11n Wi-Fi on later models. The Intel White iMac shipped with macOS 10 Tiger, which was the first of two operating systems that Apple engineered to work with both PowerPC and Intel processors. In 2007, Apple had a whole lot of aluminum and knew what to do with it. The 20 and 24-inch iMac designs in this era featured a magnetic glass cover over glossy LCD screens and around the large black bezel. Included a full aluminum frame that was attached to a black plastic rear case. Many of the Apple's high-end features from the white iMac line were now standard. That included the FireWire 800 port, dual-layer DVD super drive, and the Airport Extreme with wireless N. In 2009, Apple introduced a mini display port to the lineup as well. Here, the redesigned aluminum iMacs were a huge upgrade, ranging from late 2009 through 2011. They included larger screens at higher resolutions, faster Intel Core i5 and i7 processor options, more RAM, more connectivity, more configurations, and were more upgradable than ever before. Now, with the widescreen displays, photographers benefited from the more accurate color reproduction, thanks to the IPS screen technology and the built-in SD card reader. I always thought those were very beautiful. In 2012, technically the slimmer and lighter weight aluminum iMacs were an improvement over their predecessors, since they had better processors, faster RAM, and gained an extra Thunderbolt port, and also introduced a hybrid HDD and SSD fusion drive option for cost-effective high-speed storage. But they also lost the built-in optical super drive, and the design also became less repairable. By 2014, Retina displays were now on the iMac. Apple souped up the graphics abilities on these models so they could support the new 5K screens on the 27-inch iMacs and the 4K ones in the 21.5-inch versions. They were also Apple's last iMacs to feature Intel Core processors. I had one of these. Well, in 2013, their Mac Pro, they had which was a shiny black capsule-shaped trash can, that was commonly referred to, became a bit of a mess for Apple. The company admitted that it had designed itself into a thermal corner and would need time to redesign it. And it finally came with the cheese grater in 2019, in the 2019 Mac Pro. But within that time frame, Apple needed to appease the pros with another desktop. So it took the existing iMac slim aluminum design and added some airflow, stuck in a workstation level RAM and Intel Xeon chips, and gave it a very pro space gray paint job. And that's how we got the $5,000 and up iMac Pro. It was the only iMac Pro Apple released and never even got an update in its time on the shelf. And finally, in 2021, Apple brought color back to the iMac. These models introduced Apple Silicon M1 chips on the line, but also removed a whole lot of hardware options. There's only a 24-inch 4.5K resolution model that comes with either just two USB 4 ports or a version that additionally includes two USB 3 ports plus an Ethernet port, which is embedded on this model's less elegant external AC adapter. This new model was Apple's thinnest overall iMac, and it no longer had an Apple logo printed on the front, like every other model that came before it. As of this writing, Apple has yet to update this iMac with the newer M2 processor, but rumors suggest perhaps on the N3 it might make an appearance.
And that's almost portable because the thing only weighs 10 pounds.
Yeah, very
To me.
nice.
And it's the thickness of an iPad.
Yep. I liked how sleek it looked. Next up, Apple's latest shot on iPhone feature demonstrates an unusual use for the iPhone 14 Pro LiDAR. The new video in the Made for iPhone series features an adorable puppy named Chip that has a prosthesis. Chip was born with limb deformities and he needed to have two of his legs amputated. The prosthesis Chip uses was created by 3D Pets. It's a small business that designs pet prosthetics using the LiDAR scanner, and true depth camera on the iPhone 14 Pro. In the video, 3D Pets walks through the steps that it takes to create a 3D scan that is then used to custom hardware. Apple's video shows a clip Chip wearing his prosthesis to run, swim, and do other dog activities, and it also features other dogs with similar equipment. This from Apple Insider. Apple's reportedly working on a patent application called keyword detection using motion sensing, which aims to enhance Siri's capabilities by enabling it to recognize spoken input through motion detection, such as reading lips and detecting mouth and head movements. The patent suggests that future Apple devices could use motion sensors like accelerometers and gyroscopes to detect the motion of a user's mouth, face, head, and neck as they utter spoken commands. This approach would allow Siri to trigger commands without the need for a microphone or constantly listening for keywords like, hey, I won't say the word because for my device will come up, potentially saving power and processing capacity. The patent application acknowledges the limitations of current voice-only control systems, which can lead to false positive responses if unintended ambient noise or speech is picked up by the audio sensor. By using motion detection in conjunction with audio data, Apple aims to improve accuracy and reduce false positives. While the patent application does not delve deeply into the specific devices that would implement this technology, it highlights the potential benefits of motion-based lip reading for triggering voice commands, even in cases where traditional voice recognition might be less effective. The approach would be especially useful for conserving power and processing capacity when devices are not actively engaged in voice control, contributing to a more efficient user experience. It's important to note that while this patent application demonstrates Apple's interest in using motion detection to enhance Siri's capabilities, it does not necessarily indicate that Apple plans to release devices without microphones. Instead, the patent suggests a complementary approach that will work alongside existing voice recognition technologies to provide a more accurate and efficient voice control on Apple devices. A little bit long-winded there, but I think it's really very interesting that they're heading down this path.
Lip reading would be incredible.
Yeah. And the fact that they, very clever to think that they could use it to save power. They're always so miserly in their designs, trying to recoup every bit of power for these mobile devices. It's pretty thoughtful. Next up, apparently earlier this month, a Chinese ICC engineer in the supply chain shared alleged images of USB-C connectors made for the new iPhone 15 models. What we didn't know is that in these leaked connectors, they have a secret. A website called Charger Lab apparently came into possession of the leaked photos. And according to the website, which received exclusive images of the USB connectors made for the iPhone 15, have found something very interesting. These are some of the pictures here that these are the exposed USB-C female sockets with a mysterious IC chip in 3 of the iPhone 15 models. As you can see in this graphic here, upon magnification, it becomes apparent that this IC is what's called a retimer chip. This chip is commonly found in Thunderbolt and USB 4 high-speed devices. It improves signal transmission stability for high bandwidth data ports, enabling longer transmission distances. At this point, multiple sources agreed that the new iPhones will be equipped with a USB-C port instead of Lightning. It's no secret that the USB-C has a bunch of advantages over Apple's proprietary connector. If you haven't, this pretty interesting here. If you haven't already noticed, the combined cost of popular streaming services like Netflix and Disney Plus is now more expensive than traditional cable television. This, according to a new analysis done by the magazine Financial Times. Recent price rises to all the main streaming platforms for ad-free subscriptions have pushed the cost above the average TV package of $83 per month for the first time. Calculations by the Financial Times found that a bundle of top U.S. streaming services, which include Apple Plus, Hulu, Netflix, and Peacock, rose in price from $73 to $87 over the last year. Some of the price rises of streaming services have been considerable, going way above the rate of inflation. The Financial Times says that the increases were inevitable as streaming companies were making heavy losses in their desire to persuade people to switch from cable. As a consequence of the business downturn of many streaming services' profitability in general, and Disney's losses in particular, the Hollywood Reporter website wrote an article making the case for a Disney sale to Apple. And this has been talked about before. Disney's streaming operation lost $512 million in the most recent quarter, and it's lost $11 billion since it began in 2019. Former Disney CEO Bob Iger has returned to try and resolve the challenges. It's interesting to note that in his 2019 memoir entitled The Ride of a Lifetime, Iger wrote extensively about his friendship with Steve Jobs, who, of course, financed and helped create Pixar and sold it to Disney in 2006.
That's a great article, by the way. I read it just yesterday, and it's pretty incredible. And the other thing you should remember is Steve Jobs, the late Steve Jobs' wife, is the largest shareholder of Disney because he had so much Pixar stock and they got Disney stock for it. And so she's the largest shareholder of Disney.
Yeah. There was a good quote in his book. Iger says, quote, "I believe that if Steve were alive, we would have combined our companies or at least discussed the possibility very seriously," unquote. There's clearly no buyer like Apple, which is sitting on top of $62 billion in cash and cash equivalents and has a $2.8 trillion market cap. Well, it may be true that Apple doesn't want to buy a studio. Maybe it might want to buy this studio because of the because of having a vault full of priceless IP, and it's probably one of the most valuable brands in entertainment. They've always had a special relationship, like Ken was saying. So I was reading it in some other publications. I guess because of some of their financial profitability challenges, they're thinking about maybe getting rid of some properties. And ABC News, the ABC network might be on the chopping block. They also have interest in FX and a few other things that they may have to do. Some
ESPN also.
ESPN as well, absolutely. And so who's to say where, if they do some creative juggling, whether it becomes something that might be viable. There's with all the streaming, with most companies having some challenges with being profitable with their streaming services, there's going to be some fallout and probably some consolidation, I would think. In which case, if there's a feeding frenzy for some of Disney's assets, it's not. There might be some consideration for Apple making some kind of a deal. I'm sure Eddie Q's thinking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, next up, this from 9 to 5 Mac. Of course, with the iPhone 14, Apple introduced emergency SOS via satellite, which lets users contact emergency services in places where there's no cell connection. This feature has been proven to save lives since its launch and continues to do so. Earlier this month, a family was rescued from the wildfires in Maui thanks to the iPhone's that feature. This was shared by a gentleman named Michael J. Miraflor on X, formerly Twitter. There were 5 people inside their van, but none of them could get any cell connection. But fortuitously, one of them did have an iPhone 14 and made all the difference in them being able to be rescued from the fire. This is his quote, Apple Emergency SOS was the only way that we could get in contact with first responders, literally saved their lives, unquote. This is from Mr. Miraflor.
Before you go on to the next slide, I think this is an important thing to talk about just briefly, because I was last weekend, I was down in Monterey for the big Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance and stuff. And there's some people I met that I knew that had a car, and the car actually, they have this, and this is this incredible priceless car, but they do the tour where they go down to Big Sur and then come back to Pebble Beach. Well, there's low cell phone section in there, and the car of the people that I was hanging around with, they didn't come back with the other cars, and they didn't know how to use one. There were 2 people with iPhone 14s, and they didn't know how they could use the SOS. They saw it on their phone. So if you're in an area and you need help, like in this case, they were stuck on the side of the road. So that's truly an emergency situation. It doesn't have to be the wildfire situation. It doesn't have to be a medical emergency. But the way the SOS works, and Apple has, Al, I'm sure we'll be linking it here in a minute, but it is incredible because the phone will walk you through it. You open it up in messages and it's simply a text message. But what it does is it looks for the satellite, and these satellites are quite a ways away, and these phones are small, but it's a short message, and a message takes very little data, so it can get it to the satellite. And it might not get there in the first minute. It might take 3 minutes or so, but then it will ask you a series of questions. Is there an injury? Where, what's the problem? Things, and you answer those, and they're in very short messages, and then it gets back to you. So in this case, they could have said they're on the road, 15 minutes from Big Sur and things like that. So, and in fact, it was interesting because I finally went on the look for them after they hadn't returned. I went out and I knew the route they were on, and sure enough, that we found them. And a CHP had, in the meantime, pulled over only just recently, and he couldn't get cell reception, and he barely got his radio out to get them to get a flatbed truck. But if they'd have known about how to use the SOS feature, and when you look on this picture, there's a little picture of the satellite where it would usually say 5G and things like that. And that means that you do it and you just go down to the bottom there where it says opening messages, you tap that and it will walk you through it. And it's going to be a short message, but it can get the information out. So this is something that you should watch some videos on it, the Apple support videos and stuff, so you know how to use it if you're in a situation that requires it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Feel free to give me the yank here if I'm encroaching on your time here, Ken.
No, because I'm only going to talk about some plans and stuff. So I mean, we're pretty good, and
okay.
And you have
okay,
a lot
yeah.
of really good stuff in here too. So
Yeah. Just a little something here. never ceases to amaze me how some of this legacy Apple equipment and stuff have these premium prices that on unopened packaging. This is a first generation iPod that's been around the auction block before, but recently it fetched $29,000. The original iPod launched in 2001 for $399. Apparently this was purchased and gave up as a gift and got parked on a shelf for a decade, and ooh la la, over like 700% more than it's worth. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. This I consider this as this month's public service announcement. In what will come as unsurprising news for many folks, your Apple Watch band is a breeding ground for bacteria, and new research published in the Advances in Infectious Diseases journal goes more in depth on the issue, finding a correlation between certain types of Apple Watch bands and higher levels of bacteria. The study found that 95% of all the bands were contaminated with some kind of dangerous bacteria. The most common type of bacteria attracted by Apple Watch bands is Staphylococcus spp, which can cause staph infections, and was found on 85% of the bands. What researchers found more notable was a 30% prevalence of Pseudomonas I'm going to screw this up, aeruginosa, a type of germ that the CDC says can cause pneumonia, infections into blood, and some other things. Researchers pointed out that 60% of the wearables tested contained E. coli bacteria as well.
Don't be afraid to wash your Apple Watch band, or don't be afraid to take a shower with it. And then here he has a link on how to clean it, and because they're different materials. This is from 9 to 5 Mac. They have an article on some of the do's and don'ts, and it was taken from Apple for an Apple document. Here's some of the don'ts here. You don't want to clean your band with an abrasive cleaner or cloth. Don't use Clorox wipes or alcohol on leather or fabric bands. And remember, that means don't use those disinfectant hand cleaners, because those will melt many plastics.
Yeah. You don't want to soak leather bands in water or cleaners, and you don't use hydrogen peroxide or bleach.
There are UV treatments you can get.
Yeah, that's coming up. Here are Apple recommendations for the best items to clean your watch bands. Use a clean microfiber or cloth or similar. Clorox wipe or 70% alcohol on Apple's Solo Loop, Sport Band, Nike Sports Band, Ocean Band, or Metal Band. A flosser pick if it gets gummed up and you have to actually pick out gunk. And of course, UV sanitizer.
And at the same time, don't forget to clean the back of your Apple Watch too, because you have sensors on there.
Yeah.
And they're more accurate if they're clean.
Yeah. And finally, here's a 1 to 7 thing, steps to clean your watch bands. I won't read them all. All these recommendations and procedures originally came from an Apple document. But if you value your health and use an Apple Watch, cleaning your watch band should be part of your routine. And I would assume same goes true for if you have a Fitbit or anything else that you have that you wear regularly. That's a
regular watch.
Yes, absolutely. Myself, I often use the same UVC light sanitizer I have for my iPhone. When the band's not too gunky and I just want to kill bacteria, I just toss it in there like it's an iPhone. And this particular one, I have a phone soap free model, and this is from where you can get it on Amazon. Not that expensive. And we should always, same thing with our phones, with the cases and stuff. They're all, I'm sure they're loaded with all kinds of bad stuff, and they need to be cleaned regularly. with them being in our pockets, and of course our hands are touching all kinds of public handles and things of that nature. It's easy to transfer that stuff onto your phone or your case. It's important. And finally, tonight from Mac Rumors, in computing lore, an Easter egg typically refers to a secret message, image, or feature intentionally left in software, often, but not always, hidden in plain sight. Since the 70s, programmers have used them to credit unheralded developers, reference pop culture, sneak games and productivity apps, and generally inject a little bit of humanity in their code. When Apple was a fledgling company, Mac developers regularly left little fun Easter eggs in their software, but not so much these days. While surprises can still be found, they're a lot more subtle and sober and exist more as a nod and a wink to Apple's origins rather than anything edgy or unauthorized. If you go to this Mac Rumors link, here's some favorite remaining Easter eggs in the Mac OS. And all the links generated tonight will be distributed by a PDF by Bob White in his normal MacNexus email blast. I'll post it sooner, although I'm going to be out of town for the next few days, so it may not be real soon. On our Facebook page. Our Facebook page is a great forum for late-breaking curated Apple tech news and support, and we encourage everyone to come check it out.
Absolutely. Al, as always, I mean,
A lot of stuff. Some of it was kind of dry, but some of it was good.
There were great things that I missed. So thank you.
Good.
Does anybody have any questions for Al on any of that?
Yeah, I do.
Elaine, go ahead.
Yes, so the satellite function is available starting from which model of iPhone?
14.
iPhone 14.
Okay, and we expect it, of course, to be in the 15 as well?
Oh,
Yeah, should be.
Yeah.
Okay, cool, thanks.
And then T-Mobile has one that they're working with Starlink that will be a little different. And it may not be just T-Mobile subscribers, because Starlink's a little different, and they're getting the new second version of them out there because the Starlink satellites are lower, but it would kind of be the same kind of thing. So that's still a work in progress. They talked about it beginning of 2024. And again, this isn't for satellite communications. This is for emergency situations. And there are these emergency beacons you can get and wear. I mean, anybody that's out in the, I know a lot of backcountry skiers that have them and stuff. Citizen makes a watch that has it, but it's when you need it, you need it. And with things like the Maui thing, it's if you're going to be in an area where there's not cell phone coverage, you should look at one of these alternatives. So I thought it was great. And Apple, by the way, the satellite was free for the first 2 years, I believe. And then they haven't talked about what they're going to charge or if they're going to charge. And I think it has to do with usage, and we don't know. And then T-Mobile is not T-Mobile, the Starlink one that they're in collaboration with T-Mobile. They're also working with other cell phone carriers throughout the world. So basically, you would be covered anywhere in the world in that satellite thing, because they're using one of the frequencies, so you don't have to have the satellite thing like this. But it's really tough because that little device has to communicate up to a satellite. So, Rich, you've got your hand up. Go ahead and unmute yourself. Rich Pearson, did you have a question? His hand was up. Rich Pearson. Oh, either his screen's frozen or that's his regular screen. Anybody else? Any other questions? All right, Al, again, thank you so much. And he's got a ton of links in the chat as always.
Rich just put his hand up.
Okay, go ahead, Rich.
Yeah. How do you access this on the phone? Where does it show up on the screen? This SOS.
So if you're out of cell range, it'll either say SOS or there'll be an image of a satellite up where there normally is the 5G or LTE moniker on the phone.
Oh,
And you'll
okay.
know that you don't have coverage. And at that point, it says SOS. Now, I got to point out that, if you're in a car, for instance, you got to get out of the car because you're in a metal tube. And so the GPS is from the satellites. So it's not gonna penetrate things as well as a cell signal does. So you may have to, and the other thing is, satellites are in a lot of different locations. So you may have, if you're next to a cliff, you may need to go somewhere else where you're not, where you can get more open sky to it. And it will actually tell you what it's receiving. And then at that point, you would try send the message and stuff. And if the message doesn't go through right away, as you continue to move around, it will, once it receives enough signal, it will do it. And text is a very small amount of data. So it really doesn't take a great connection to make it happen.
Okay, great. Thanks.
You bet. And there is Apple has a whole video on it. And gosh, when they first announced it, which was a year ago now, I remember I played it in the thing. And so it's out there. It's under the Apple support, or just look for Apple's SOS function or satellite function. Anybody else? All right. I'm gonna just bring up my keynote again and just show you. Oh, Keith, go ahead. Keith McMahon, go ahead.
My wife and I recently got iPhone 14s, and we drove a few weeks ago. We drove about 5 miles up the road from our house where there's no cell reception, and when there's no trees around. And this SOS thing works really well. And the picture you showed is exactly what happens on the phone. You get out of the car and point the thing, and if it's pointed at a satellite, or you turn around until it gets pointed at a satellite, you can find them, and the little green thing shows up. And as the satellite moves across the sky, this image will tell you which way to turn, so you're still facing the satellite. And it's really amazing that it works so well. We didn't have an emergency, so I didn't try sending a text message, but.
Right.
So,
Yeah, and it kind of tries to walk you through, because it doesn't want a big long text, because that would take a little more. So it tries to ask you pertinent questions, so that it, and by the way, your phone has the GPS in it, so it will always be able to transmit the location, because the GPS in the phone uses a satellite, but it's a real strong satellite because it's receiving that signal. It doesn't have to send it back to a GPS. Yeah. So the GPS, I've had it in areas where I haven't had coverage for 2 hours, and the GPS in the phone still works. And by the way, you can't do SOS on the iPad, but the GPS function works on an iPad if it's a cellular iPad. So, all right. There's new news from T-Mobile in the last couple days. And I haven't analyzed it yet, so I don't. Here's what I found. Oh God. It does. I haven't analyzed the pricing and stuff, but they have this new thing, Go 5G, and with that, they're offering where you can do very similar to Apple. So Apple has a program called an upgrade program, where you can turn your phone in. You pay for your phone, basically whatever phone you get. It's set up. It's a loan from Citizen One Bank, but it's through Apple, and it's no interest, and there's no surcharge. The only requirement is that you include Apple Care with it, which is a very good idea on a phone. And you can turn your phone in after a year, and you will have paid only half of the phone. So in other words, they take the phone, they divvy it up into 24 equal payments to be the exact price you would pay. And then you're making those payments along the way. And after actually 8 months, but really after a year, when the new phone comes out, you simply send that phone back in when you get the new phone, and they'll send you the new phone. And if the price of the phone is the same ongoing, you will pay the same price you have been. With this talk of this Ultra being $100 or $200 more than the regular iPhone Pro Max, that would play into that. But I do a new phone every year because, and for me, the biggest thing is because I use it for photography so much, and the camera is always improving. So no muss, no fuss. I turn my phone in, I get a new one, and I just continue with the same pricing. And so that's an option with Apple. It's called the upgrade program. And some of you that are on that program may have gotten a message from Apple, and you thought it was to sign up for the new 15, but they're trying to get people to get onto the 14 if they hadn't done it yet. Anyway, T-Mobile has come up with a new thing where they have some new plans, and in these new plans, and I'm not sure if you have to use these plans for it, but I would go to T-Mobile and look at the offering, because they're offering very much the same thing, where you can, depending on your plan, you can turn your phone in at a year and then continue on with a new phone. So it's brand new, and I don't know, and it looks like some of these plans may be a little more, but then again, that's paying for the phone and things like that. So I didn't get that. Gosh, I don't know why my watch keeps trying to activate Siri and dictate. Anyway, some of the features on T-Mobile's plans is they, depending on the level, it includes Netflix, Apple TV Plus. I use T-Mobile and love T-Mobile because it allows me in 215 plus countries to have free data, free texting, and if I make a phone call, if it's not on Wi-Fi, it's 25 cents a minute, and it was very, very useful, especially on my most recent trip. So, but what this brings up is, if you're going to get a new phone when the 15 comes out, and there's going to be 3 or 4 flavors of the 15, and if you're ready to do it, when you get a new phone is the time, if you're thinking about changing carriers, you want to do it because you're the customer they want to get in, or the customer they want to incentives. There's no real contracts anymore, but they'll do some incentives over 2 or 3 years to help subsidize that phone price. So again, if you're thinking about changing carriers, you want to change carriers when a new phone comes out, and then you want to work the deals. That's all I can say. And it's a buyer's market at that point. So you're in control, and you can get the carrier to make some good concessions for you. And they're not out yet. As soon as they announce the phone and stuff, they'll come up with different plans that have it. Obviously, the iPhone 14, that's a great phone right now, the 14 and the 14 Pro. I think the Pro will probably continue. The regular 14 may drop off, but those things will be reduced in price compared to what they are now. And the rest of the line kind of follows through with that. So I do have a question from Roy. Go right ahead.
Yeah, I had Verizon, but I switched to T-Mobile because we were going to Europe for those 2 years.
Yeah.
But I find it here in California, it's worse than my Verizon service. So I'm thinking about switching back and waiting. I'm in that upgrade programs, but I've been waiting for the 15 to come out. Do I set it up before I get the 15 or as soon as I get the 15?
You mean if you're going to switch?
Yeah, if I'm going to switch.
So you do it all at once. And the nice thing is, now, are you currently on the upgrade program?
Yes.
The Apple one?
Yes.
So in your case, you're not going to get any special deal, but you might look to see if Verizon, because now you're going to come back and be a new customer to Verizon again. There may be some incentives to get the phone outright and do that. Just check with that. Otherwise, you can do the upgrade through Apple and you'll simply just, well, yeah. The changing carriers may slow up it a little bit. So my recommendation in a case like that is I'd go talk to them at the Apple store now and see what they think about that, because you don't want to be stuck there and then you're going to get, you know, if you want the phone the first day, you may get thrown out of the mix on that. But the upgrade, you're in the upgrade program, so that should be okay. It's just you're going to change carriers. But let me address the T-Mobile and the Verizon situation a little bit, because
Okay, thanks.
it's constantly changing. Well, first of all, Verizon has finally gotten a little more aggressive about their plans. Verizon also has a separate company that's their own called, oh gosh, it was Total Wireless. It's Visible is the name of the company. And it's got better rates, but they really don't do a lot of phone incentives and things, but it is Verizon. So just like T-Mobile has Metro PCS as their own company, Verizon has Visible, and it's just like AT&T has Cricket. And those are the no frills, but they use the same towers and what everybody does. But Verizon is in transition. And I'm going to ask out in the audience here, are there any current Verizon customers that are getting not as good a coverage as they used to now? And I'd like you to speak up if so, because they're having to decommission their old CDMA network. And that's what gave all the great rural coverage. In the meantime, T-Mobile is hugely expanding their rural network. So I want to know, anybody out there, please either speak up if you've noticed the change, if you're a Verizon customer in the rural areas, if you've noticed better or worse coverage. Okay, well, I've heard from two people that the coverage has degraded, but there I don't really, that could just be anecdotal, so I don't want to spread that rumor and put that out there. But I know that it's something we need to check into, and I'll see what I can find out, because it will affect Verizon coverage if they do it. What happened was they were supposed to have started this 5 years ago. It's when they auctioned off all these different frequencies, but they allowed Verizon to continue to operate those towers because so many first responders depended on the Verizon towers. Now, anecdotally, in this case where the people that had the car and got out of cell range, they were on Verizon. And when I was at the location they were, I also didn't have cell range. This is on the coast by Big Sur. But I got in cell range quicker than the 3 Verizon people did. And that was new to me. So.
And
yeah,
you have T-Mobile?
Yeah, T-Mobile. So, and again, it's so much, it's so personal on what is good coverage, what is bad. And yeah, and Al has, as of January 3rd, they decommissioned the CDMA, but the CDMA network, whether they've supplemented it with their other stuff or not. So I don't have any personal experience other than that little thing there where, and I was surprised that I got in cell range quicker than the people that did in Verizon. But you know what? I'm going to play that up to an anomaly, because in rural areas, Verizon has always been the best. Obviously, though, if at your house, you don't have to worry so much, because you can always turn on a Wi-Fi call. I don't know. When I went to T-Mobile, I did my iPad for a year and a half first with T-Mobile before I went from AT&T, and I've been very happy over AT&T, but I can't really compare it to Verizon. So, but I know there's areas and some can be better than others. So, Mary, go ahead with your question.
Yes, I want to get an iPhone 14. When you said the prices are going to go down, when do you expect that to happen?
When the new one gets introduced, Apple will lower the price, and the carriers may have some extra of them. But now, and if you look at the current offering from Apple, that'll help us. So let me just pull that up. Hang on here, because I think that they made the Pro the phone that Apple's doing now. Let's see, Apple. Because what they did for last year's phone will give us a good idea of what they're going to do on the new one.
And I'm having a hard time deciding between small and
so see, there was a 13 Pro before now, and they just kept the 13. So if you were looking at the 14 Pro, it's unlikely it will continue. So I don't know though until it goes, but the carriers probably have some stock on them and you'll get some deals on that. It's just Apple itself won't offer that one anymore.
Thank
So,
you.
and they're doing a trade-in on this. And then I think the 14 will drop down to the 13, the 13 will go away. The 12 may still be there. I don't know. That may be, they may just do, oh, that's what it is. They got the 13 in 2 sizes. They may just drop it to 1 size. The SE will probably be there because the SE gets refreshed in the middle of the year, not when this all happens. But you won't know until they have the event. And yet, okay, so, and to help with this, the difference between, for instance, the 14 and the 14 Pro, the Pro has the 3rd camera, in the 3rd lens, instead of just 2. That's the biggest difference between them. And of course, they make the Max and the regular size. And we don't know what's going to happen with the Ultra. They also are supposedly rolling out a new color. Does that answer it for you, Mary?
I think so. Yeah, I just need to decide too what size I want. You know, it's so nice having small ones, but then the big ones, you know, so
So a little tip on that, and it's really personal choice. The bigger phones will have a little bit better battery life, but the battery life on the phones now is so good. But secondly, I did hear years ago a female podcaster, when they first came out with the bigger version of the phone, I think it was the 8, when they went big, or 7 maybe it was, and she says, oh, that's great because it doesn't get lost in my purse because it was bigger. But you know, it's all a personal preference thing.
Yep.
Roy, did you have another question?
Yeah, the reason I was a little negative on T-Mobile here is the new Rayleighs they built on Freeport.
Yeah.
We can't use our phone inside. Like if I have a question while I'm shopping, calling Vicky, I can't go. I have to step outside. But I've noticed other people using their phones. I asked, and AT&T and Verizon works inside, but not T-Mobile.
And does Rayleigh's have Wi-Fi?
I have no idea.
So check if they have Wi-Fi, and if they have free Wi-Fi, and see if it works. I had the same situation, the Costco in Roseville, and I was in there yesterday, and now they have Wi-Fi for us inside there. It's great because I always listen to iHeartRadio, and I'm trying to listen to it, and it goes in and out when I'm in the store, especially when I go in where the cold box is. But now Costco's got Wi-Fi, so I can make calls, and I can check pricing and things like that. So
I will ask
Wi-Fi, that would be a way around it. But yeah, it's real personal.
They never, when I groused about it and the assistant manager didn't say anything about Wi-Fi, but I was asked that specific question.
Yeah, and the cell signal is not their deal. And, you know, so there are different flavors of 5G. And 5G is still rolling out in big amounts, but 5G doesn't transmit as far as LTE. So they have put in more towers. But there's some other frequencies that they can do that actually transmit farther. And they're just the whole 5G rollout. But remember, your phone, while it'll do 5G, it'll also do LTE, it'll do 3G, it'll do 4G, it'll do all the older technologies. So, but yeah, it's a real personal thing. So I don't know what to tell you on that one.
I just did a quick query about whether Rayleigh's has Wi-Fi, and I couldn't find anything.
Yeah. But if again, that's a situation where if that's, you know, coverage is a big deal, and it's I know that it's expanding with T-Mobile, and I think Verizon has the potential to be less, but not and not necessarily in town. The deal with Verizon, it's more the rural areas where they have that was the CDMA thing. I would say that your whatever coverage you got in Rayleigh's for Verizon will never be less than it is, because that's a regular suburban one. Carol, go ahead. Go, and hopefully T-Mobile can get rid of there. Go ahead, Carol.
What do you know about the pricing of the 15s? Anything?
No, and it's all rumors.
Okay.
From what I've read, and actually Al's probably read more, it sounds like the regular 15 and the 15 Pro, but again, because they're talking about an Ultra, it sounds like they're going to try keep that pricing the same, but the Ultra may be 100 or 200 more. Al, does that line up with what you've been hearing?
Yep.
So, and again, it'll get announced, but it means the other ones are still there. And it's not like the 14 and the 14 Pro are bad phones. My gosh, I love them. The 10X will be a big deal. And so the difference with the phones also, the Ultra is going to maybe throw a wrench in the works here. But when you talk about the regular phone versus the Pro, the way I describe it to people is, if you use your iPhone camera to take pictures at Costco so you can remember how much something costs, or you're just taking pictures of where you parked your car, things like that. If you're taking snapshots, get the regular phone. But if you're taking photos, things that you're going to, like, for instance, you can see my background, or am I on shared screen? Hang on. My background picture right here was taken with an iPhone. And I had my big camera with me and everything else, but the iPhone Pro, 14 Pro, if you're using the iPhone camera for photos and not just snapshots, and using it for travel, that's why you go with the Pro. It's just better. So, and the better lens, the 3X lens. So, wow, I got the hiccups. I'm sorry. Hang on one sec. All right. So, any other questions before we move on to the virtual raffle? Hopefully I remember how to do this since I haven't been around. And what are our numbers there, Lisa and Mary?
32 in attendance. Oh, looks like somebody showed up just now. 32 in attendance, and Lisa will do the all members. So
35 people in attendance at the moment.
Are those verified members though?
well, like Bev is on here twice, and there's somebody named Pam Sousa, and so we try to take that into account, Bob. That's part
Oh,
of
yeah, okay.
part of the deal here.
And
Just
Lisa,
checking.
Lisa, what's our big number?
277.
Great. So were there any other questions before we go to the raffle? And I'll hang around after the raffle since I've been gone so long. So, so we do Amazon gift cards, and they get emailed out to you tonight. We do 4 $25 Amazon gift cards. Then we do, it's 2 to the regular and 1 to the other, right? Yeah, so we do 2 $100 gift cards to verified members in attendance. And then we do 1 for the general membership that does not have to be present. And it's a whole different number set. And if you win as an attendee and also win the membership one, you get both. But for the regular $25 and the regular 100s, if in fact you get pulled for a 25 and then you get a 100, you have to give one of them back. And as I always say, it's up to you, but I would give back the 25 and we'll redraw that one. But you can argue with me if you want on that. So I'm going to use Siri here. And since it's been a while, I'm going to just ask Siri what the temperature is, and you can tell me if you can hear it. What's the current temperature?
It's about 83 degrees outside.
Okay, did you guys hear that? Great.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So, and if for some reason I slur my speech or the correct number, the random number generator doesn't work, I can see it on the screen. If it's a misdraw, we throw that one out and do that over. Okay. So the $25 gift cards will be the first 4. Give me a random number between 1 and 32.
That would be 27.
27, and Mary has the numbers. No one else has seen them.
That is Raymond Chung.
Congratulations, Raymond.
Mhm.
All right, the second $25 one. Give me a random number between 1 and 32.
It's 14.
14.
Jane Hunter.
Congratulations, Jane. And our third. Give me a random number between 1 and 32.
The answer is 26.
26.
Ray Bulkey. I hope I said that wrong.
Yep, Ray, congratulations. And the last $25 gift card. Give me a random number between 1 and 32.
The answer is 23.
23.
Why, that's me.
Congratulations,
Ooh.
Mary.
Well, thanks. I can use it with all this new Eero stuff.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah. And by the way, Eero is the brand of the router that you got. It's EERO, which I believe is owned by Amazon. And
Yes.
I got those myself and I like them. So, and then there's a difference between Wi-Fi 5, 6, and
And the
6
7.
plus. Look
Yeah.
into that. 7 now is, and that's
Yeah,
the
there's a 6E out there and
yeah,
7,
6 plus, and then there's 7 coming down, and
Yeah.
you can always be on the bleeding edge. All right, now for the 2 in attendance members, $100 gift cards. Give me a random number between 1 and 32.
The answer is 1.
1.
Whoa, okay. Altrivit.
All right. Oh man, good. You
All right, finally. Every time I have this, I don't win. I go with my sunken face into the living room and tell my wife I didn't win anything. And she says, "Oh man!" So this time,
got an an Amazon gift card that'll arrive tonight.
Nice.
Congratulations,
Nice.
Alan. And thanks again for all your work on the links. And actually, thank you to all the volunteers. You know, this organization is run by the volunteers, and it's good to be back on my part, but it's good. And thank you to everyone. Okay, last of the $100 for members. Give me a random number between 1 and 32.
The answer is 4.
4.
Bob White. I just do not
Oh
believe
my
this. It's
gosh.
board
Ooh,
members.
man.
Are you kidding? Been a
Board
while.
of
since-
Directors is rocking tonight.
I don't
Been a
remember
while since
Bob.
I won
I don't
any.
remember Bob ever winning one. Wow.
Yeah, no
you.
kidding.
All righty. So now it will be, we have 277 members. So this will be the all member one. And Lisa has that list, and it's even if it came up as 4 again, it would not be Bob. So give me a random number between 1 and 277.
It's 28.
28.
28 is, Kurt Erskine.
Kurt Erskine. Great.
Congrats.
Congratulations, everybody. Good job. And if anybody has any questions, go ahead and I'll stick around a little bit.
Where do we see your pictures?
Well, I'll do a quick little slide. I got like 15 pictures here.
Yeah.
I have not had time to get my pictures together.
Yeah, when you put them up somewhere, yes, send me a link. I'd love to check them out. I don't
Oh,
have time
yeah.
tonight, but
Yeah, here I got 15 I'll play right now. So
And
But,
Al, have a good vacation.
thank you so much. I'm going to a 50th 51st high school reunion, San Diego.
oh wow.
Uh-oh,
Yeah.
which high
Does
school?
that mean you guys didn't have a 50th?
Yeah, that's exactly what it means.
Oh, that's funny. Because
I went to-
we're planning our 50th next year, but our class didn't have a 5th. We had a 6th.
Yeah, I graduated overseas, Okinawa, Japan,
Oh, that's
and
right.
we just threw a dart on a map, and then every few years we hook up there. And this year we because the weather in San Diego is a lot similar to what we had on Okinawa. It's just perfect, and the fact that there was just a hurricane there is perfect, because we used to live through these typhoons over there, and we'll
Oh,
feel right at home.
That's great.
Hey, Ken, I
All right.
saw Gate 1 was that who your travel agency was?
Yeah, that's who I used for the 19 days in South Africa. And then, well, my trip was kind of interesting. So I did the Great Race from St. Petersburg,
Nice.
Florida to Colorado Springs. And I was back for a day and a half. And then I flew to Amsterdam for 2 days, Budapest for 2 days, Dubai for 3 days, and that got me to South Africa. And we did 19 days across South Africa, 4 different safaris. And then I did a Viking river cruise from Budapest back to Amsterdam. And the only reason I really did that is because that paid for the international airfare. And it was awesome. Viking was incredible, and the safaris were incredible. We had dinner outside one night in Kruger Park, and when we got off the little 4x4, and they've got these tables set up, and there's a very large gentleman with a really big shotgun, you kind of think, oh yeah, we're eating outside. And so
Who's on the menu?
during the dinner, there were some rumblings from some of those guys, but it was okay. But it was really neat. It was very well done. Gate 1 does a great job. So
Yeah,
Great picks.
My wife uses Gate 1, Ken. It's great.
yeah, and what's funny is, so I used Viking on the river cruise, and Viking pretty much owns those rivers over there. They have like 62 ships or something. But I was surprised because Gate 1, I knew they did river cruises, but they had one of the river cruise boats that's actually a Gate 1 boat. So they're big enough to do that. But yeah, Gate One, that's what I did Morocco with. I just love them. They're fantastic. Gate One Travel, everybody.
Yep.
So I'm not, that's no referral or anything, but I love them. So
Their prices seem pretty good compared to some companies I've looked at.
well, yeah, and every Gate One I've been on 6 of them now. The comments from everybody is, how the heck can they do this for that price? And it is. Well, in fact, the Africa trip, we had, so they could have had as many as 32 people. They had 13. And I was talking to the tour guide, and he says, oh yeah, right after COVID, when we started back up, there was a trip with 3. They didn't cancel it. They still ran the trip.
Wow.
And to me, that's a good sign that they do that. When we did Morocco, we had 19 people. When I did Jordan, we had 13, and they have different levels. They have one called Discovery, which is 22 people or less, and it's more in-depth. And then they have the regular ones, and then now they're doing walking tours. They kind of have all different levels, but sign up for their email list, and I'll tell you, it's so 19 days in South Africa with all meals, with 4 safaris, and first class hotels, not superstar hotels, but good hotels, great guides, and they had it on sale. It was $2,150.
Wow.
What a steal.
No kidding.
So, it was normally 30 something. It was $1,250 off, because, and that's how when they have trips that, okay, because we booked it only like 40 days in advance or something. So, and then Viking, their deal was the ship wasn't full from Budapest to Amsterdam. So they give you free international airfare, and they knocked it down like $500. So that got us over there. We only had to fly from Budapest to Johannesburg, was the only flights we paid for. So you just gotta, be ready when they're ready. So anyway.
What's the name?
Gate One Travel?
Gate One, and it's a number 1. Gate One Travel.
Okay.
You were traveling with someone, so you didn't have to pay single rate.
Correct. And they don't, the Ken that used to be a MacNexus member, the photographer that I travel with, is who I went with on this. So yeah, they're unlike OAT and some of the others that have free singles. This is all dual, and and you can get, I've traveled with one of their trips as a single. So you're just basically, you pay extra for the hotels, and that's about it. So, but yeah, Gate, the number 1, and sign up for their mailing list, because I think it's either Tuesday or Wednesday. It's Tuesday. They send out their top list.
Just signed up.
Yeah, it's really good. The other one I subscribe to is Travel Zoo, one word, travelzoo.com. And that's actually how I learned about Gate One. And some of the Travel Zoo ones I'm not too sure about, but it was funny because Gate One, when you go on the trip, what's always a barometer is how many people are repeat customers. And there's a lot. So, but yeah, the big comment from everybody is, how can they do this for the price they do? And they don't cheap out. It's good. So
That's an incredible price. My alumni club travel, they routinely are $7,000 to $9,000 on just a 14-day.
Yeah,
that's incredible.
Well, and this was what was a little different, because this was only in South Africa. Oh, well, we went to Swaziland or Eswatini for one day, but basically it was South Africa. So we were on game reserves, and we got to see the big five, the rhino and the hippo and all that. But it's different than when you go on a big safari on the plains and things like that, because that's a little more extensive, but also you're not as likely to see as many animals unless you're there for a migration and stuff. But I did really like, we did the first day we did was in Johannesburg, and we learned a lot about apartheid in museums. And so it wasn't just a safari trip. It was really pretty in depth. One of the best things, we went to an ostrich farm, and I'll tell you, and we had ostrich steak, and ostrich steak is my favorite meat by far. And it has virtually zero fat in it, but it tastes as good as any beef steak. And I actually asked the people from the ranch over there, the ostrich meat is the same price as a steak. It's no more, no less. So, and the ostrich are really, they're not smart animals, but they're really curious. They're pretty funny.
Unless they're selling in insurance, then they're real.
Oh yeah,
smart.
yeah. Oh, that's an emu. That's an emu, and I think the emus are from Australia.
Oh, right. Oops.
Like chicken, Ken?
What's that?
Tasted like chicken, right?
No, it tasted like beef.
Oh, did it?
No, and it was dark. It was dark meat, very red. There's no marbling in it at all because there's just no fat. But no, it was beef. It tasted like a fine fillet.
My grandfather raised ostriches in Arizona and brought them to California.
Really?
19, yeah.
Yeah,
So
and I
did
guess
you like it?
they can fry up the eggs and stuff, but the eggs are not anything special. They're just big. Did you have ostrich steaks when you're from your uncles?
No, my grandfather, no, he was out of that. He went from the ostriches raising after the plumage went, in the turn of the century, and started working on cars.
Yeah. Oh, and then they also, so the ostriches that they use for meat, they grow to be 11 to 15 months old is all, and then they slaughter them. But ostrich leather, I was just at the car show, and that was ostrich leather has all the little bumps on it. So boots, purses, and they used to do car seats with those. And the ostrich leather is really, really nice.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So,
Anyway,
yeah, they're funny.
Great, and my wife likes it just like you use, Ken. So
Yeah.
So
Good
anyway.
deal. Anybody else? Any other questions?
I have a Tesla question, so I'll wait till the end.
No problem.
Okay, thanks, everybody.
See ya. What's
See ya,
your
Mary.
Tesla question, Bev?
Well, I wondered if have you ever experienced where your phone, you approach the car and it doesn't unlock immediately, and I have to get my phone out of my pocket and then it will unlock?
Yes. And for me, it's my body shields it sometimes. If the phone is on the opposite side of where the Bluetooth is. And is it consistent or is it persistent or?
It's erratic.
Yeah. So
Richard said he has the same issue.
So my recommendation whenever that's an issue is, so your phone is paired twice to your car, one for audio and one as the key. So yeah, it's in the locks thing on your screen. So unpair the phone. You don't have to unpair the Bluetooth for audio. You would unpair the phone as key and then set it back up again.
Okay, yeah.
And do you reboot your car very often?
I have started after, because after updates or that, because you had mentioned about doing, I don't know if we've had several, just very small updates, so I have not done that.
But try that first, and then, but I would do the unpair pair of the phone. And again, don't worry about Bluetooth for the audio, just unpair the phone as key. And you can do that right on the screen.
The screen in the car, the screen in the car.
Yeah, under locks, I believe it is. And then you just delete that phone then, and then just re-add the phone.
Yeah, when I bought my new iPhone 14 back in the spring, I just drove straight from the Apple store to the Tesla store and said, please, mercy, mercy.
Yeah, well,
Hook
you'll
me up.
find it's actually really easy because on the phone it'll walk you right through it. But once you'll get it off, it'll kind of walk you how to do it on the screen and stuff. But yeah, or just go to the store and have them repair your phone for you.
Can I interject to say, at least once a week, my Tesla forces me to get out the key card in order to get in the car.
I
And
would
that's
recommend
very
trying the
frustrating.
same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's
Mine's usually just I take it out of my pocket and then I'm good. And it's almost, and then when I have it in a vest pocket, sometimes it doesn't do it. And I'm wondering if there's like an RFID thing in there or something.
Richard has said that sometimes sometimes I've gotten as far as going to the Tesla app in the phone. And Richard's comment was that he has just waking up the phone seems to do it. But the first year and a half, this has just been happening in the last 3 months.
Yeah. I would see if the repair helps. Mine seemed to go through certain temperamental times and not. And so for mine, and mine's different because it makes the handles pop out. So I know instantly if it does or not. But for me, I've had to get to the point a couple times where I had to, basically wake the phone. But usually it was just a matter of getting it in a different location. But try the repair, and then, it's because there's Bluetooth can be temperamental, and again, it has nothing to do with the audio Bluetooth.
Yeah, one time I was driving and just as I drove into the doctor appointment and parked, everything went dark. It was a little concerning. And then
did a reboot?
I did a full, the two picture or two scroll thingies on the wheel and held on to that. And then everything came back to life. But it was like, oh,
well, and
glad
it's
it
funny.
didn't do it while I was driving.
And mine hasn't done it. Well, actually, you can reboot it while you're driving, believe it or not.
Okay.
There's enough redundancy in there that it's not an issue, but it's not recommended. But mine hasn't done it. This car has, I don't think it's, no, I don't think it's ever done it. But my previous car would occasionally, like you'd go park or something like that, and it would reboot itself.
I get my hands slapped with driving sometimes, and it's just like, what? I haven't done anything wrong or that. And one time I was on the freeway, and that orange eye sensor came on. It was honking at me and doing all sorts of things. I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And I just inadvertently tapped the brake wheel or the brake pedal, and that stopped everything from making its noise and squawking.
Yeah.
And then I had to manually drive all the way home, but oh well.
Well, that's you got put in jail, or you got
and I wasn't doing anything.
So if you get put in the penalty box in autopilot, all you have to do is pull over to the side of the road, put it in park. Yeah. And I actually open my door too and shut it. I don't get out.
Yeah.
But just putting it in park, and then it resets it for the rest of the trip.
Right. Yeah. And I had a person with
that
me.
also happens if you exceed 85 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I'm on a 2-lane road and I need to pass somebody, I disengage autopilot and then I do the pass because it'll instantly put you in the penalty box. It used to be 90, but now it's 85.
And one time I was just stuck in a traffic jam on 80, probably around Vacaville, and I wasn't even moving, and it put me in jail.
No, and that's from not grabbing the wheel. And the thing on the wheel is not grabbing the wheel. It's a slight turning moment.
Yeah. And I love the volume on the radio is what I
was just going to say. Any other interaction with the steering wheel will also negate that nag.
Yeah. And then if I don't,
did you two get the offer from Tesla for get a new Tesla and we'll transfer your full whatever it's called,
the full
self-driving?
Yeah,
I don't have full self.
Oh, okay. I thought you did. Yeah. Well, that was very tempting to me because I have the very earliest Model Y. And there's some things on the newest ones and maybe the battery and stuff that
Battery, and actually the suspension is it's a little smoother from what I understand.
that'd be nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm very tempted, but it would still cost, like I think I could get $30,000 for my car and the new one would cost 54,000 or something like that. Maybe it was 57,000. So it's a big chunk of change.
But then look at what incentives you could get on the new one too.
Right. Subtract the $7,500 from the
Right.
feds.
And
What
25
else?
or 2,000 or 25 for California.
Ooh, I forgot about that one.
Yeah, their
But I
means
don't
test.
think the Fed you don't get the Fed anymore on Tesla, do you?
Yeah, you do.
Yep. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's the newest thing, but only till December 31st.
Mm.
And then it may go away after that. It's part of the bill that they signed. But if you, Joe Allen, if you want to go
Yeah.
in, go to Tesla.com and look at the Y there. And then you can click on the thing and it'll tell you what the incentive information is. But they are means tested. And remember, the federal tax is only in the year you buy the car, and it only applies to up to $7,500 of federal tax. So let's say you only owed the feds 5,000, you would only get 5,000. It's a credit, and it doesn't carry over.
Yeah, that's not an issue. I always owe the feds plenty.
Yeah, no, I just thought I always like to mention.
That's a good point.
I don't like to be surprised on that.
Yeah, and I suppose there's also the SMUD will give me $500 or something. There are all those little
I
ones.
think that's still in place. So when you do that, it'll ask you to put in your zip code, and it'll do it like San Joaquin Valley. They give you another $3,000. It's amazing.
Oh wow.
It's the San Joaquin Valley Air Quality District or something. So it's like 3 counties. So, but yeah, check. You can check into that. That helps mitigate it a little bit. But used car prices have dropped, and Tesla does not give the most. You would want to check CarMax and other places for that.
Right. Yeah, I did. Yeah. Yeah, my car has some paint damage. Some of the paint damage is from when whoever those paint guys are that Tesla does business with in Rockland.
Oh,
they did a crappy job of fixing my doors, all 4 of my doors. So the paint it's a mess.
Was that Canisials?
Yes.
Oh, you should.
And I asked them, I have, but I don't want to be without the car for a month or whatever they'll take. They tried to fix it twice by not doing much to it, and it still sucks. And then I damaged one of the bumpers. And I said, can you give me a good deal on fixing this bumper and fix the doors at the same time? Wouldn't that be a nice thing to do? And it still came back costing me, over $1,500. So, and then I'd be without the car for all that time.
Part of the problem is anybody that needs to paint cars in California, it's tough because the low VOC that's required on the paints here make it so the paints aren't as good.
Well, it was the finishing. They buffed it out and left huge swirls in all of the doors.
Oh, well, that's
it's like really, really obvious. Only when the car is clean, though. So that's
what color
a
is
reason
yours?
to drive. It's dark blue.
Oh yeah,
which is a problem.
Black show it, but the dark blue looks good
when it's clean. But then the car doesn't look good because the doors are messed up. But anyway, so that's one thing is I'm so tired of looking at those doors and the scraped bumper. So, but I don't know how much that's worth.
I've learned about how easy it is to scrape the wheels.
Oh yeah, they're horrible.
The rims.
They're horrible.
I had gotten them fixed after one nasty, because I had actually ripped it to where I couldn't have. OK Tire told me that, we are not going to be able to change a tire in the future unless we fix that. You get that fixed. But I was happy with the referral they gave me, but I'm just going to drive. I scraped the whole thing. I don't know how. Just turn it around.
It's too easy to do.
It has to do with the way. So the rims are wide for the tires. And that's a
Mhm.
good performance thing. But what it does is it means that the rim is contacting the curb the same time the tire does, where if you think about an older profile tire, the bulge of the tire sticks out more than the rim.
Yeah.
So it's even worse on the Model S's and X's because ours are even wider, and knock on wood, I only have one little nick on mine. So
Yeah, I
but-
got a 360 all the way around the rim on this last time. I was in a parking lot and turned, and there was a little island coming out, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, everybody.
Let me
go
just tell you this.
Sure.
Another WITS member bought a Tesla recently too. After
Yeah?
a WITS meeting, and she saw my Y. She went out like that weekend. She bought a Model 3.
Oh, cool.
Who was that,
So that
Joellen?
was neat. Paula Schmidt.
Okay.
Well, don't forget, if you have friends, do referrals.
I know, but she didn't listen to me. She didn't
Well,
do it.
because they also get a bit.
Bev did. Bev used my referral number. She's the
Good.
only person so far who has, out of 3 other people I've talked into buying a Tesla.
Oh, well,
So thank you, Bev.
you're welcome. Bertie has talked about buying a Tesla, I thought.
Yeah.
But I don't know that she has. I mean, I
Well-
think she's looking at like the S.
And if you,
Oh,
well,
wow.
the S has dropped in price dramatically. But the other thing is look at, so, and Joellen, if you're thinking about a Y, end of quarter,
I know.
always, that's when the deals are, and they don't negotiate, but that price is based on something, but it's usually less. So
Yeah, it's kind of
Yeah,
irritating.
this deal was take delivery by September 30th to have the transfer of the full self-driving.
So yeah, and the other thing with that then is you're close enough to the end of the quarter where the deals might be happening too.
All right.
Yeah,
All right.
some of
I'll check on that.
Some of the price cuts they do are just like, it's like rather irksome. They've dropped the price on the cars, and then I think they're back up again.
Well, no, so you have to understand the dynamic of it. What happened was when COVID hit, the supply chain was so messed up that everybody was worried what would happen a year from then. And so they really raised the prices because they didn't know, tires looked like they were going to be so expensive and everything else. But the reason they're doing it now is, first of all, Tesla is the only electric car company that makes money on their cars. But secondly, the battery prices are dropping dramatically. And that was always predicted to be, it would have been a year from now, but it's predicting now. Within the next year, you're going to see it costs less to build an electric car than a gas car because the batteries have dropped so dramatically. So they're trying to be, and the other thing is, they're continuing to produce the cars. So they use that as a little thing to make sure they don't have a lot of inventory and things like that. And to be honest, there's still worry about the economy right now, and they don't want to be sitting on a lot of cars. And so they're trying to aggressively go through that. But yes, it hurts resale value. But in the other hand, it'll help when you go to buy another one, if you buy another one. So,
Well, you're trying to get off, Ken, but you both probably know, my neighbor told me about a ring that if you're using a non-Tesla recharge, there's a ring that you can buy that you slip your nozzle through that will not allow someone to disconnect.
Yes.
And like, it's like $9 on Amazon. I haven't gotten one yet, but he was saying because people are rather irritated when a Tesla charges that, and they can unplug it and plug it into their vehicle, and it'll continue to charge on your nickel.
So that's for the no, because when you unplug it, it should stop the charging. Oh wow.
Yeah, apparently on the non-Tesla stations.
So those are for when you use the J1772 adapter, and it's a little ring. I have one because what it makes it goes over, and then when you have their part of the charger, yours is still locked in your car. They can't get that. Your car locks it in. but what it does is it makes it so they can't press the little arm up and pull it out. Yeah, I have one of those, and they're inexpensive, and I've never had to use it because the only time I use J7072 is when I'm charging free at a hotel.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I've only had to charge my Tesla like 3 times. I've gotten on Joelle, and sometimes I take you to lunch or something and have you give me a tutorial on Better Route Planner. I have been stymied on.
Oh, we can do that on screen share. I'm a pro at that. That's my go-to.
I have looked at some videos and I just really struggled, and I realized, I mean, like,
I think he's offering, Bev.
Huh?
He's offering.
Yes,
he's offering
yes.
to help you via
Okay.
screen share.
At some point, I'll make a date with you. I'll get my questions ordered up.
You know, anybody else, we can make a thing of it where I'll just share my screen to a bunch of people, because that tool is, it's priceless, and they have done such a great job with keeping it up and everything else. Oh man, I just love it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a few icons and things that, but yeah, at some point, yeah. Are you in country for a while?
Yeah, I may take one short trip, but I'm around till October 23rd.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to Falklands, South Georgia, and back to Antarctica to finally finish the trip that I started.
Oh, wow. Did you get a deal on a second trip?
Oh, Viking took care of us so well. They had two options. They had the one option was they'll give you all your money back and $1,000 credit towards a future cruise. Or what I took was they'll give me 100% credit for what I paid, including the Patagonia extension, which I did. And they still gave me credit for that. And they gave me 50% of my money back.
Oh, excellent. That's really great.
Yeah,
wow.
That was phenomenal. And they offered that to everybody. So
that's great.
Very good.
All right. Well, great. Thanks for your advice, Ken.
You bet. Anytime. I love talking Tesla.
Yeah, I think we all do. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're the meister
I
of
still
that.
enjoy it. I still delight in getting in, and it seems like I learned something new.
It's called the Tesla grin. You look for reasons to drive your car.
That's right.
I tell everybody a story. When I was a young kid, it's still like that now. When I was a young kid and I just gotten my license, my mom says, okay. And she knew I wanted to drive her car like crazy all the time. And so she goes, okay, go up to the store and get me a gallon of milk. So I came back with a half gallon of milk. And she says, I said a gallon of milk. I says, I'll go up and get another. You know, I just wanted to drive the car. And that's how it is with the Tesla. So,
well, that with the electric car and the price of gas, and with my solar roof now.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
My $24 a month electric bill is wonderful, and not paying for gas.
Yeah,
That's great.
I agree. And I'm overproducing. So, because I used to drive a lot and I'm not as much anymore. So I gotta spend. Well, but the unfortunate thing is when I do these trips, I tell people, well, that's so I won't have to pay my electric heater bill when or my air conditioner while I'm gone, because I'm away from the house, right? I turn it up to 90 degrees, but it doesn't matter because I'm on solar. But I use that as my excuse to travel. Oh, I don't want to have to pay my electric bill, so I'm just going to go travel. So
all right,
anyway,
well, thanks.